Hello Year 2s, it's Miss Whitmarsh here again with another maths video. Today we're going to be having a look at fractions. To do this lesson you are going to need some different materials. A pair of scissors, a pencil and a ruler, and lots of paper to cut out some different shapes. You're going to want at least 5 triangles, 5 circles, 5 rectangles and 5 squares. I'll put a template on the website if you're able to print these out. If not, you can use your ruler and something round to draw these shapes and then cut them out. For your first challenge, you are going to need your square pieces of paper. How can you share a square piece of paper between 4 children? Have a go, see what you come up with. How did you do with that challenge? I found that the easiest way was to fold my squares into 4s in different ways. Then I knew I was making equal parts and I could cut them up to check that they were equal. Can you remember what equal means? It means the same. When we're looking at fractions, we need to make sure that all parts are the same. I found 4 other ways to share my piece of paper. How many did you find? Now we're going to have a look at sharing a rectangle. You've got 3 different challenges here. Can you show 2 equal parts? Can you show 4 equal parts? Can you show 3 equal parts? As with the square, the best way to do this would be to fold and cut your shapes so that you can check that they are equal. So there I have my 2 equal parts challenge. I wonder if there's another way to show 2 equal parts. How did you do with that challenge? I've got some different shapes that I've now shared into different equal parts, and we're going to have a look at how we write the fraction to match. We need to write them carefully and understand what a fraction actually means. So here I have my rectangle. My rectangle is my whole and it has been split into 2 equal parts. To write this, I now know that I have half. I've got 2 halves. This is 1 half and this is another half. If I just focus on this side, I have 1 part out of 2 parts. This is how we write a fraction and it represents that I have half. 2 parts or 2 halves make a whole, and that's what we need to remember. If I was to have a look at my square that I cut up earlier, I've actually cut this into 4 equal parts. If I was to look at 1 part, I know that I have 1 out of 4 parts. This is the fraction for 1 quarter. So 4 quarters make 1 whole. Again, I've got another shape. This time I have a circle. It's been cut into 4 quarters. So I'm going to label one of them as a quarter. Sometimes we might look at more than 1 part, and we can label these as fractions too. Here, I actually have 3 parts of my whole circle left. If I was to label all of these 3 parts, I would call it 3 quarters. And finally, here is where I've cut my square into 3 equal parts. We call 3 equal parts thirds. And if I want to write it as a fraction, One part, 1 out of 3 parts would look like this to make a third. Can you label any of your shapes that you've shared? So as a quick recap, let's go over what we have looked at today. We've looked at halves, quarters and thirds of shapes. We call these fractions, and we now know how to write our fractions to match what we have done. A fraction is made up of 2 parts. We've got the numerator, which is the number of parts that we are looking at, and the denominator, the size of the part. So if I get one of my shapes back from earlier, we can see that here I have 3 equal parts. If I look at one part, my numerator, I have 1 part out of 3 parts, which is my denominator. It'd be great to see your learning and what you've been up to. I'm going to put some extra resources on our website too so that you can keep practicing fractions.